Unfortunately, a lot of shipwrecks were found close to the island, and also the lighthouse wasn't very lucky to survive. Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. First of all, I have a cold, so my voice is a bit different than normal and maybe it cracks sometimes. But if I have to wait until my cold is over, it's gonna take another few weeks. So I'm just gonna make this video and I hope you guys can forgive me and ignore it. We almost finished my series of the 7 wonders of the ancient world. We already covered the Colossus of Rhodes, the statue of Zeus at Olympia, the Hanging Gardens of Babylon and the Great Pyramid of Giza. I will put the list in the end of the video, so if you haven't watched them, you can watch them if you like, of course. And when I'm done with that, I'm gonna talk about the other stuff that's already on my channel, like super volcanoes, alien related stuff, ancient mysteries and also cold cases and true crime. But now we're going back to the 7 ancient wonders of the world, and this time we're traveling back to Egypt, which isn't really a big surprise because Egypt was very advanced, and the thing we're gonna cover today is the ancient Lighthouse of Alexandria. The Lighthouse of Alexandria is also known as the Pharos of Alexandria, and it was built by the Ptolemaic kingdom during the reign of Ptolemy I, and after he died it was finished by his son Ptolemy II. And Ptolemy II was king from 282 to 446 BCE. And you might know Ptolemy I from another video of mine. I already talked about him because he was one of the makers of the Library of Alexandria. Ptolemy I Soter was the Macedonian Greek general of Alexander the Great, and after Alexander the Great died, he founded the Ptolemaic kingdom and also started the Ptolemaic dynasty in 304 or 305 BCE. And he declared himself the Pharaoh of Egypt. And the reason why the year isn't agreed upon is because they used 2 different calendars back then. The ancient Egyptian calendar stated that he was crowned in 304 BCE, and the ancient Macedonian calendar stated that he was crowned in 305 BCE. And the Ptolemaic kingdom was based in ancient Egypt and stretched from southern Syria to Cyrene and south to Nubia. And the capital city was Alexandria. And Alexandria was founded by Alexander the Great, and therefore it was named Alexandria. And during the reign of Ptolemy I, it became a major center of Greek culture and trade. And Alexandria was also known as the city of learning and knowledge. The Ptolemies were originally from Greek origin because they came from Macedon. They coexisted as Egyptian pharaohs and also as Greek monarchs. They spoke Greek and they also remained Greek in their tradition. Even the government in Egypt had to speak Greek. There was one Egyptian tradition that they upheld, and it was also the weirdest one, which was inbreeding, because they wanted to stabilize their family. In Egyptian mythology, the god Osiris married his sister Isis, so it was justified in Egyptian eyes. However, in Greek mythology, the gods also intermarried. For example, Zeus married his sister Hera, so even though it wasn't really a part of Greek tradition, it was not a big deal. And of course nowadays it would have been a big deal. The Ptolemies were a very important family for the history of ancient Egypt, because they ruled Egypt for almost 3 centuries, which is a very long time. And you are probably wondering how a Greek family could rule Egypt, because it sounds like they were trying to transform Egypt into a new Greece. But the Ptolemies respected the Egyptian people, their traditions, customs and society, so many people didn't mind that they were ruling Egypt. And of course the Ptolemaic kingdom ended, and the last Ptolemaic pharaoh we all know very well. It was a woman of power, strength and seduction. She was also very well educated. She also married her brother, and after that she was in a relationship with Julius Caesar. And her name was, a name we all know, Cleopatra. Her children would not become pharaoh, and that would end the Ptolemaic dynasty. But I'll discuss that in another video because there's so much to talk about when it comes to Cleopatra. So now we're going back to the capital city Alexandria. As I said before, the capital city Alexandria was founded by Alexander the Great, but it really flourished during the reign of Ptolemy I. And he decided that the center of government would move from Memphis to Alexandria. but Memphis would still remain the religious center of Egypt. And Alexandria had a strategic position which was great because it was close to the Mediterranean and to Greece. Ptolemy I ordered to build the Great Library of Alexandria and also the museum. The library was one of the largest and most important libraries of the ancient world. Unfortunately, it burned down and we lost all the knowledge that was stored in there. I also made a video about the Library of Alexandria, so if you want to know more about that, you can check it out in the description. And because Alexandria was the capital of learning and knowledge, there were a lot of people traveling to Alexandria, also to trade and to do other things, and the harbor wasn't really safe. So Ptolemy I ordered to build a lighthouse in the city harbor, and it would be known as the Lighthouse of Alexandria. Built on a small island named Pharos, and the island was connected to Alexandria with a bridge called the Heptastadion, which formed one side of the city's harbor. The Heptastadion was 0.75 miles long, which is 1.2 kilometers. Pharos faced two city harbors. One on the land was connected with the Heptastadion, and there was also the great harbor named Inostos, which means harbor of fortunate return. The Lighthouse of Alexandria was not the first lighthouse that has ever been built, but it was the first monumental one and the most impressive one. Ptolemy I wanted a permanent reminder of his greatness and his reign, like many other monarchs, but it was also important to build a lighthouse to help to guide the ships into the harbor, because as I said before, the harbor wasn't really safe. The Egyptian coast was very dangerous, so it was very important to build a lighthouse to secure the harbor. Ptolemy I commissioned the building around 300 BCE. The project was completed 20 years later during the reign of his son Ptolemy II. It was believed for a long time that Sostratus of Cnidus designed the Lighthouse of Alexandria. Pliny the Elder wrote that Sostratus was the designer of the lighthouse, but this has been disputed. It's more likely that Sostratus funded the construction, so we don't know who designed it or built it. The Lighthouse of Alexandria was, after the Great Pyramid of Giza, the largest construction ever built by human hands. Its height was estimated at between 349 to 494 feet, which is 120 to 137 meters. We would have called it the skyscraper of the ancient world. It is said that the light of the lighthouse could reach up to 30 miles, 48 kilometers of the coast. The light was produced by a furnace at the top, which is a device used for high temperature heating. We don't really know what materials were used and what the lighthouse exactly looked like, because not many people wrote about it. But it's said that it was mostly built by solid blocks of limestone. The fullest description comes from an Arab traveler called Abu al-Masudi, and this is not his entire name, but it's very long and you wouldn't remember it anyway, so we just keep it short for now. And he visited Alexandria in the year 1166. He indicated that the lighthouse was constructed from large blocks of light-colored stone and that the tower was made up of 3 tapering tiers. A lower square section with a central core, a middle octagonal section, and at the top a circular section. And on the 4 corners of the building were statues of Triton, which was a Greek god and the son of the Greek god Poseidon. Poseidon was the ruler of the sea and Triton was the messenger of the sea. And on the top of the lighthouse was also a statue, but he was not sure if it was Triton or his father Poseidon. Some people think that the statue on the top was Alexander the Great or the sun god Helios, but the most believed representation was Poseidon. The statues were placed as a tribute, but also to protect the harbor and the ships that sail into it. People back then believed that the gods ruled the seas and that they could protect everybody on the sea. So if they placed the statue of Poseidon in the harbor, they thought they were safe. Unfortunately, a lot of shipwrecks were found close to the island, and also the lighthouse wasn't very lucky to survive. They did strengthen the Pharos walls to withstand the pounding of the waves through the use of molten lead to hold its masonry together. and this is probably the reason why the Lighthouse of Alexandria survived the longest of the ancient wonders, if you don't count the Great Pyramid of Giza. Al-Masudi also wrote that they included a description on the lighthouse to the supreme god Zeus. The construction of the lighthouse cost the kingdom 800 talents, which is comparable to $1 billion. The Lighthouse of Alexandria became so popular around the world that the Greek name Pharos means lighthouse in many modern languages. Unfortunately, not in my language is Dutch, and our name for lighthouse is Vuurtoren, which means fire tower. And now we're going to the bad stuff, because unfortunately the lighthouse was badly damaged in the earthquake of 956 and once again in 1303 and 1323. And in 1480 the lighthouse was completely gone because the Sultan of Egypt decided to build a medieval fort on the larger platform of the lighthouse site. And he even used some fallen stones from the lighthouse to build his fort. And there are also a few myths and legends about the Lighthouse of Alexandria, and I always love to talk about things like that because it's always very mysterious. The legend goes that Sostratus was forbidden by Ptolemy I to put his name on his work, but of course Sostratus didn't listen and he wrote a text on the base wall, and the text was: Sostratus, the son of Texiphanes the Cnidian, dedicated this to the savior gods on behalf of those who sail the seas. And these words were hidden under a layer of plaster, and on top of it he wrote another inscription to honor Ptolemy I as the builder of the lighthouse. And after centuries the plaster wore away and revealed the name of Sostratus as the builder. But of course I already told you that it was disputed that Sostratus was the builder, so I'm not sure if this story is true. And there's also another legend that the fire from the lighthouse was used to burn down enemy ships before they could reach the shore. But I think this is just a story they told each other to make sure that enemies wouldn't try to invade Alexandria. And then there's also a theory that the Lighthouse of Alexandria was powered by an arc lamp. And the arc lamp was powered by rows of batteries installed in the chambers below the round tower. There are indications that the arc lamp was already known in antiquity and in Egypt, but this is just a claim because they couldn't find any evidence yet. And then there's also a story about the destruction of the lighthouse. The Byzantines sent a eunuch agent who adopted Islam, who gained the confidence of the Caliph, who was a leader of the state, to look for hidden treasure at the base of the lighthouse. The agent went inside to look for treasure, the lighthouse collapsed, but the agent managed to escape in a ship that was waiting for him. I don't believe this story, but it's nice to hear it anyway. So, did the Lighthouse of Alexandria truly exist? Since there are reports of the Lighthouse of Alexandria until the 15th century, I think we can say it did exist. Many famous historians and writers like Herodotus and Pliny the Elder wrote about the lighthouse, and we know that a lot of things they wrote about have been confirmed to have existed. And also Julius Caesar wrote about the lighthouse and its strategic importance. In 1994, Greek archaeologists led by Jean-Yves Amprieur rediscovered the physical remains of the lighthouse on the floor of Alexandria's eastern harbor, and pictures of satellites have revealed the further remains. So I think that we have enough evidence to say it existed. There are plans to rebuild the Lighthouse of Alexandria on the same spot, but unfortunately they haven't decided if they really want to do it. So once again, a sort of happy ending. A wonder that truly existed instead of being a myth or a legend, but unfortunately we can't see it anymore like many other of the wonders. But I think this story was very interesting. I didn't even know about the Lighthouse of Alexandria until I played Assassin's Creed Origins. The Lighthouse of Alexandria was a big part of the storyline, so I really enjoyed doing the research, although it took me a lot of time. And I hope you guys liked it as well, and I hope you learned something from it. And let me know in the comments what you think. If you like it very much, please give it a thumbs up. And if you like it even more, you can subscribe to my channel. And as I said in the beginning of the video, if you have any suggestions, you can leave them underneath the video. And maybe I'll make another video about it. Next time we're gonna talk about the other ancient mysteries. We only have 2 left, so we're almost done. And well, I'll let you guess which one I'm gonna cover first. Thank you so much for watching, and I see you next time. Bye!